everybody, Ryan Medora here, and I've got another blues lesson for you because it's just the best. You can never have enough. This one is going to kind of combine blues, funk, soul, goodness to create just like a fun, funky bass line. I'm taking inspiration from one of my favorite drummers, Mr. Derek Phillips, who laid down a great drum groove. You can actually grab it in the 12-bar blues survival pack on my website, where if you go to ryanmedora.com, you can learn how to play a lot of cool bluesy things, different blues bass patterns, cool drum tracks, and this is kind of a funk groove that I am playing along with one of his sweet drum grooves. Now this is kind of alluding to the record Tramp by Otis Redding, a great Stax recording, and it's just a funky drum groove. So if you ever get together with people and they're like, yeah, like, drummer, why don't you play something that like grooves, and you, the bass player, has to improvise something, this is something that I would do. So I'm gonna really play to using bluesy elements such as the box. You know, maybe we know this kind of thing, this like blues box. We might do a little shuffle thing. Well, we're not playing a shuffle, but we're going to use the same notes to kind of create a funky pattern. So I'm using, in the key of A, my root, my fifth, my flat seventh, and I'm going to throw the octave in there for good measure too. And the groove that I'm going to use is primarily going to use the root, the fifth, and the flat seven. Pretty cool, pretty good groove. Just root, fifth, flat seven, fifth, flat seven, and then sometimes I'll hit the fifth on the way back down. Now if I just play those notes, it sounds cool, but if I introduce a grace note, all of a sudden it gets funkier. What's a grace note? Well, it's a note that we kind of play. I like to think of it as an appetizer. It's like a little appetizer note, little pig in a blanket that we have before the actual fretted note. So it's kind of a note that we play, that we just grace, and we use it to kind of get into the next note that we're actually going to be playing as a full-on fretted note. In this situation, we play our root, and I'm going to use this grace note of the sharp four or the flat fifth, which is just a half step lower from my destination. Remember, I'm playing the root and I want to land on the fifth. So I'm going to just kind of do a little half step into it. In this case, I'm going A is my root, E flat, and then into the regular E. So the 6th fret into the 7th fret on my A string. That's right. You can hear that it adds that element of funk. You know, it's no longer just, this is cool, this is fine. But doing that really adds something to it. And the reason why it works is because, well, a couple reasons. One, it's funky. Two, if we think about the blues scale, a lot of people learn the blues scale and it's like, oh, that's our blues scale. This little grace note is in there, so it works. How cool. I also like to play a dead note before hitting the grace note. So instead of just playing, I'm playing the root note, a dead note, into the grace note, into the fretted note. So it's almost like 3 little attacks occur at once for maximum funk. So we get a boo-doo-dum, and that adds a lot of kind of like nuance to what you're doing with your bass part. And then you can take this particular groove and just move it across the 12-bar form. Play it 4 times on my 1 chord. I'll go to my 4 chord. Just move everything over a string. Back to 1. Up to 5. 4. 1. And there you go, 12-bar blues. Now if you want to get really creative, you can do other things with this. You can kind of play it a little backwards, you can throw in some transitions, you can do whatever you want, but the cool thing about it is it definitely bridges the gap between kind of what you might play in a blues shuffle using this little blues box, And then what you might do if you're going to get a little funky, where you're playing something that's not a conventional like blues bass line, not a conventional shuffle, definitely more on the soul R&B side of things, and you get a little bit funky using dead notes, grace notes, and fretted notes. So I hope you found this video helpful. Please check out my website, ryanmadura.com. You can grab tab and notation and backing tracks and all that stuff by getting the 12 Bar Blues Survival Pack. And happy practicing, everybody. Keep it groovy.